Magic rings don't have to drive you nuts. While these little creatures pop up on the screen, check out how many magic rings are hiding in each one. Have you ever had a magic ring unravel, or tightening the centre turned round too into a tight little nightmare? If so, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll show you a few easy hacks to stop your magic ring centres from ever unravelling, and a delayed tightening trick that makes round 2 much easier to work into. I'm Carolyn Zucky and I use magic rings in all my amigurumi designs. They're not just for the main object you're making, they can also be used to add cute little features to your amigurumi, like little wings or fins, eyes, feet, caps, tires, headlights, rearview mirrors, and things like that. Once you make friends with magic rings, you can make so many fun projects, and these hacks will make them feel so much easier. Let's get started. It doesn't matter what yarn you're using for this, just get a hook that's the appropriate size, and the first hint is to start with an anchor loop in the end of your yarn. So tie a small knot in the end of your yarn, and you can use the hook to make sure that it's small. So just tie a knot in the end like this, and you can pull it close to the hook so that it stays small. Then trim the end of your yarn like this. The next tip is to make a small loop to work your magic ring into. That way you won't have a long yarn tail. Put your hook through the centre and pull through a loop. Hold that while you get the other hand ready to crochet, and do a chain to anchor it. So now we're going to be crocheting over both of these pieces of yarn here, so part of the loop and the yarn tail from the magic ring here. So we're going to be crocheting over top of both of those. Put your hook through the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Now yarn over on the outside and pull through both loops. So there's the first single crochet stitch, and I'm going to do 6 in my magic ring. You need to follow whatever pattern you're following, but for this example I'm just going to do 6 single crochet stitches. So again, put your hook through the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop. Then on the outside, yarn over and pull through both loops. So there's 2 single crochet stitches and I need 6, so I'll keep going. Here's 3, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on the outside. Now you can see that I'm getting close to that knot there, so I'm going to pull my magic ring closed just a little to give myself more space along there. So I need 3 more in the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop. On the outside, yarn over and pull through both loops. So that's 4 stitches. If you don't know how many you've done, you can count these little loops here at the top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I've done 4. So I need 2 more. Through the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop. On the outside, yarn over and pull through both loops. And 1 more. Through the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop. On the outside, yarn over and pull through both loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At the end of the round, pull the magic ring closed just enough to reach the stitches from round 1. So you don't need to pull that tight. If you pull it tight, the second round is much harder to crochet because it pulls these stitches quite tight, and it's hard then to put the crochet hook through the spaces. So hint number 3 is don't close the magic ring tightly yet. We're going to tighten it after round 2. And you'll also need to insert a round marker of some kind. I'm just using a scrap of yarn here. My pattern for round 2 is an increase in each space, which means I need to make 2 stitches in each space all the way around. We'll need to tuck that yarn tail from the magic ring out of the way and follow the pattern for round 2. If you cover that over now, you won't be able to close the magic ring later. So I'll just crochet 2 stitches in each space all the way around. So go through both the front and back parts of that first stitch, yarn under and pull through a loop, then yarn over and pull through both loops, and do the same thing in the same space. So there's an increase, and I'm going to increase all the way around. Let me tell you how I came up with the idea of the anchor loop system. I've made thousands of toys for children. One day I made a blue-ringed octopus for a little boy, and he was so excited he threw it across the room and ran excitedly to retrieve it. Then he and his friends used it like a ball to throw to each other. All his friends then swarmed me, asking if I could make something special for them too. I was determined that none of my toys would ever unravel, no matter how rough the treatment. I wanted my toys to be as indestructible as possible. My friends have told me that their kids have treasured their toys for sometimes decades, even passing them on to the next generation, that they've been carted around everywhere and have been through the wash so many times that they're amazed their little amigurumi have survived. You may not need an anchor loop if your amigurumi is only going to be sitting on a display table, but if you're making it for children to play with, this is a tried and true method of making your little creatures as life-proof as possible. We're almost at the end of round 2 now. We had 6 stitches in the magic ring, and now we've done an increase in each stitch, so there will be 12 stitches at the end of the round. It's good to get in the habit of counting your stitches at the end of each round to make sure you have the right number. There's my first one hiding under the round marker. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Now pull the loop on your hook large so it doesn't come undone while we're closing the magic ring. Now you need to close the magic ring firmly. Here's another point where some people get in trouble. They think they've pulled the centre closed firmly only to find out later there's a little gap forming in the centre of the ring. There's a simple reason for this. Remember we crocheted over 2 strands of yarn, so there are 2 strands of yarn inside here. When you pull this tight, it can feel like it's closed nicely. You can see that looks nice and tight there. I could pull it even a little tighter. Look, there we are. It looks like that's closed perfectly now. But there's a second strand there that I know I haven't pulled tight because I couldn't feel it closing tightly. So you need to pull this very tight, and the anchor loop can help you with that too. If you put your hook through the centre of that anchor loop again, and then you pull tight, can you see how much it pulled even further? That was that second ring closing. So when you close the magic ring centre, pull that tail until it looks like it's closed, and then pull a little more and you should be able to close it even tighter. Insert your hook back into the loop, and you know which side is at the top by pulling this gently. The one that's moving needs to be at the top, like this. So we'll need to move the round marker up for round 3. And in this round we're going to trap that yarn tail and anchor loop. So insert your hook into the next space and trap the yarn tail by hooking it over the crochet hook like this. So just do your stitches as normal, and my pattern for this round is an increase and a single crochet repeated 6 times. So I'll put the hook back in the same space, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, the same as we've done. Now as you go around, this can get caught in your stitches, so if you give it a little tug every now and then, you can make sure it stays taut within your work. So I've gone through the space, I'm hooking that over the stitch and doing a single crochet stitch. So I have an increase in the next space. So what we're watching for now is when you get close to that knot. So I'll pull it and make sure that this doesn't come loose inside, because you defeat the purpose of having it then. You need to keep it taut so that it can stay as an anchor loop, and when you crochet it into your stitches, this can't unravel. So you can see my knot is getting close to my stitches, but I'm going to do one more stitch. There's enough space there. And then I'm going to avoid crocheting over this until we're past the knot. I'm up to an increase in this space, so I'm going to tuck this behind because that knot is too close, and just crochet into the work and don't crochet over this. And I'll crochet forward one more space. And then you need to check and make sure that you've gone past that knot. So that stitch is completely past that knot now. So in the next space, I'll crochet through the work, and I'll crochet through the center of that anchor loop. And that anchor loop is going to anchor the yarn tail from the magic ring into the work so it can't slide and loosen, given little boys throwing it around rooms. So I'm up to an increase. I'll go back into that same space again, and into the center of the anchor loop and do a stitch. And you can see here, if you can see clearly, there's enough space there to do one more stitch inside my anchor loop. Everyone's loops will be slightly different in size, and you just need to fill it gently. Don't stretch it to fill, or when you've stuffed your creature and it stretches a little, you may distort your work. So I'm going to be able to fit one more stitch in there, and then just finish the round, whatever your pattern is. So I'll just quickly finish my round there, and then I'll show you the back. So some people have a longer yarn tail than others, and if it goes up into round 4, that doesn't matter. Just once you get to the knot, make sure that you don't crochet over top of the knot, because you can leave a bump. And remember to fill the anchor loop enough so that it can't slip and become loose inside your work. So there's my little magic ring done, and the first 3 rounds. You can see it's nice and tight in the center. Round 2 was very easy to crochet because it wasn't too taut and the stitches weren't pulled tight. Round 3, we've crocheted in the anchor loop and the yarn tail there, so it can't over time slide and become unraveled in the center. So this is nice and secure. One last hack: if you find your magic ring hasn't closed enough and there's a little gap forming in the center, remember for next time to pull it closed tighter. But you can repair without frogging back to the start. Use a similar coloured yarn or the same yarn and sew into the magic ring stitches, preferably from the back. Pull it very tight to close the gap, tie it off firmly and hide the yarn tails on the inside of your creature. It's more difficult if that centre magic ring loop has completely unravelled, but it's not impossible, so if it's a treasure you can try to save it. Thanks so much for watching. If you found it helpful, please check out my other tutorials and consider subscribing. Every creature I make glides out of my own imagination, along a little trail of knotted yarn, and into reality. They're all my own original designs. I hope they make you smile and maybe even give you a laugh. See you next time.